Hello everyone, my name is Lance090 and welcome back to Let's Play Kerbal Space Program as the Lightfire Union. We recently just got our first satellite into orbit after we nuked our opponents and gained control of the planet. Horse 1 is in orbit now. It was carried into space basically on a retrofitted ICBM rocket, which we'll probably continue to use for as long as it's still viable. In fact, while I'm at that, I should drag it into the subassembly. Call it the what do they call it? The Terrace 2? Retrofitted ICBM. This one. Okay, but now we build a new craft. Need a slightly better probe. One that can do some science and things. I think I like this other one a little bit more, actually. Or wait, no, that's the Octa. I do like the first one more. Oops. Okay, there we go. This one. Still trying to decide what things should go on it and such, but I'll give it one of these general purpose science things, just so I don't have to repeat the same mission over and over again. This thing has like all the different science parts that are rebrandable. It doesn't have any of the one-shot use parts. Obviously overlooked on the last flight the need for a camera or two. Let's see, I didn't know two of them. Boys in the lab have also requested that we stick some larger gain antennas on it. And that the four smaller ones we used last time on the last spacecraft were unnecessary. Just do it other than the magnetometer. Wonder if this is a physicsless part. I don't know. The reason I say that is the physicsless part means that even though it says it has mass, it doesn't actually have mass. I think it'd be the case for this. Well, we'll just try to find out. Because I think in my lore I made it so that my second spacecraft actually wasn't completely successful. So it's okay if this part fails or something. Angle it a little bit so that it can fit inside the fairing. And then power, because this one should have solar panels. If I can find them. I just want the flat panel one for now. Go. By the way, even though there is better solar panels, you should always stick few of these little ones on there anyway, because they're always on, right? If you forget to deploy their other panels, you'll at least have these, right? There's kind of a room for another module there. What else could I bring? God, that's gigantic. It's not really a thing. I just thought it might look cool on the side. I don't really know what to put there. What will... Come on, let me grab this. There we go. Put one of these on the side instead. And then we'll have small backup antennas. On top like we had it for a second ago. And I just remembered that because of the freaking fairing. Oh, you know what I need to use? I'm not thinking. Thinking old school. I have a mod that gives us robotic parts. Powered hinge, there we go. So, I wonder if I should use the closed one or something. No, we'll use this one. I can't exactly figure out how that one's supposed to be positioned, so we'll use this one. It's gigantic, of course, but we can fix it. And we'll do 2 of them. So if you remember this mod from the last time we tried to use it, this Infernal Robotics mod, it used to dump like hundreds of little parts on you. But now they've partnered up with this other mod that's actually pretty cool, that lets you scale your parts. So you can see I have this scale thing here, and that lets me reduce the size. We're going to use small. I assume that it also scales down the weight and everything. Be pretty bad if it didn't. Okay, now we got that. Now, gotta go find those parts. So I want the radio Spiatron, just one of them. Oh, it's kind of hard to see these little ones, but gosh, we don't need 2, we just want 1. No! Symmetry mode. It auto turns itself on sometimes, I don't like it. It's going to be really hard to center that thing. I think that's about as good as we can do. Maybe it's a massless part, who knows. This one I still have to do some fiddling around with. Might end up being completely wrong. I'm having trouble imagining how that's going to fold out, but we'll figure it out once we get into orbit. Yeah, we should give ourselves a little battery. The round one again this time. Alright, so now it's possible this isn't going to fit in a fairing. And I might have to expand the fairing. We will try to see if it'll fit in here then. I wish the expanded fairings and the regular fairings looked different so I could figure it out. It looks like it barely fits, but and then in fact it's partly clipping out, but it's fine. It's good enough for me. And then subassembly, I actually have too many parts on it. Go ahead and give me that. I don't want it. Thing's gone. Okay. Got that. Now there's a fair chance that this isn't enough fuel, isn't enough thrust, because our payload's bigger this time. But like I said, I think this second orbital spacecraft is a failure on my official documents and stuff. What I'm gonna do is, before I forget, I'm going to do the action groups thing. Okay, so I don't know how to do this. Okay, total antenna, I think. Is that both of them? I think it's both of them. It has both of them selected. Then And there's no way to just deploy it. We'll block magnetic field data as well. Oops, okay, move out of this. Okay, that should be it. This is the Terrace 2 Oris 2. This is actually how, like, I think both the Soviets and the Americans named their spacecraft, but definitely the Soviets, I know. They name it with the rocket that brings it up and the name of the mission both combined. And then if it's a failure, it'll just stay like that in the history books. And if it's a success, it just takes the last title. Again, I don't really need to save it, but I'm just going to do it anyway, because it seems like a wise enough idea. So now we hope that I can get this thing into orbit without making a complete fool of myself. I need to move this out of the way before I forget. Making toolbar stuff. Hopefully this toolbar is going to go away eventually, because now there's a toolbar with this new version that's built into the game that the modders can use to put their stuff in. So hopefully they all move on to that, and then I can get rid of this other one, because it's annoying. Launch again. Again, we're kind of going too slow to start with, but as we've seen, it's okay. At least with the smaller payload it was. So we have a very small margin of error. We still had like 80 fuel left last time, but that was only with just getting it into orbit. So not a huge margin of error. I usually make spacecraft with quite a bit more space. Of course, the thing's wobbling. To the Ferram Areospace, it is a give and take. You gotta, when you decide to do it or not, you have to weigh your options carefully, because what it does mean is it takes a lot less fuel to get into space. It's much easier to get into space with a rocket. Fuel-wise. Flight-wise, it's a lot more difficult because the thing wobbles and jiggles back and forth way more than it would normally. Increases your chance of just flipping completely out of control. So you should only take it if you think you're pretty good at starting to fly your rockets, because it's not easy to fly the rockets. But it's so much less fuel, it's awesome. Actually makes going back to playing the stock version extremely hard, because I can never build my rockets big enough anymore. As you can see, we're using a very small rocket to get into space. We're using a engine that's meant for orbital maneuvering. We're using a 1.25 meter fuel tank. It's a long one, but it's just one. Usually you need 3, depending on what your kind of setup is. Okay, so this time we definitely have a third left. Last time I was we were kind of hovering between a half and a third. But this time it's definitely a third of our fuel left. So this time I really do have to make sure I get to apoapse before I burn. And continue to time accelerate to apoapse as much as I can. Most efficiently burn my fuel. Can't do can't wait too long though, because then we can start falling back down, and that's not good. In fact, we're already kind of not going to make it, but it's really going to be down to the wire as far as having enough fuel goes. Just kind of watching the apoapse time to try to keep it at like 4. I'm doing very small changes in my maneuvering. And we should... There we go, we made it into orbit. Yep. We did it, and with 50 fuel left to spare, so this rocket design's still working. I wasn't really expecting it. I didn't think it would be enough. I tend to always underestimate myself, though. Hashtag humble brag. I am kind of proud of how far I've come with this game, because I didn't used to be this good at it. Now let's see if the action group works. Oh, it did. That's awesome. Okay, we'll keep the data for now. I'm going to transmit it in a bit, but it's how do I... There's a certain... Oh god, I don't know exactly what's happening here. Is it folding out? Okay, yeah, it is. Good. Good. Oh, can go past 90 degrees. I just kind of wanted to bring it to 90 degrees. Okay. Now... with the data. Unfortunately, this thing didn't extend out. I think I didn't quite copy a bit of text properly. Trying to get these solar panels oriented towards the sun. Dang, not really enough power on this thing, huh? Alright, there we go. Then... Can't do a seismic scan. Can't do a pressure scan. Can do a gravity scan. Gravity seems to be incredibly high for a celestial body of this size. It must be composed of an extremely dense material. Gravity scan from above Kerbin's water, so we can grab those in the future. Temperature scan while in space near Kerbin. I think we can transmit this because I don't think temperature scans are high energy. Can only gather 1 in this area. Okay. Scan the radio waves just above Kerbin's water. I think that might be big. Radiation one's really big too. Okay. Now before it gets too dark, let's orient the spacecraft for the first picture of Kerbin from space. Picture is amazing, or at least first picture of Britissia from space, I should say. That's the Lightfire Union homeworld's named. You can do this quite a bit. They're not very high energy. One probe I made when I was just playing on my own a while back, as I made the Hubble Space Telescope by like using tons and tons of cameras. I actually made it look pretty accurate to what the actual Hubble looked like. It was pretty cool. Okay, now we're just gonna like warp around the other side until we get to the sunlight again. to collect more precious science. Okay. Let my power gather up as well. Those powered hinges were actually really cool to have. Because now it looks a lot more like a real space probe. Usually my things are always like really long because I try to get it to fit into a fairing or something. This one actually had some width to it, which is pretty neat. Okay, these panels aren't quite aligned, but that's okay. I couldn't really do anything about that. Oh, now we'll start sending data back. I think this is a big one, so... It's taking a long time to transmit this. Review data. I do have 3 antennas though, so I think I can like transmit 3 at a time back if I wanted to. Transmit that back as well. Transmit all the science back. Okay, actually I don't think it's using this radio spiatron to send data back. I'm gonna have to check my remote tech mod because I don't think I have it quite fixed. Some things about mods are easy to change, and for some reason, like, even though everything adds up, they sometimes still don't work. I'm not exactly sure how to fix it. Okay, finally got that data sent back, so now let's go back to the Space Center after our second successful orbital probe. Oh, I didn't rename it. Let's go back to it in a second. Oops, I need to change this anyway. Freaking thing. Okay, now this one. Fly it for a moment. Forgot to rename it. Game. There it goes. I don't know why it wasn't letting me click on it. Still a probe. Or a second slow. And now let's go back to Space Center. So what do we design next? It's probably time for the manned vehicle, to be honest. I think that last probe pretty much does everything it needs to. Although I can do a probe that goes into high orbit, and that might make sense more. But I think we're going to do the manned probe next, because the manned mission next, because the next probe we send, even if we're going just to the higher orbit, it's going to need more fuel anyway, so we need a bigger launch vehicle, basically. So, what are we going to use? Well, let's start with a pod, I guess. We'll just use the regular one. I'd like to start seeing more command modules and the probe bodies, to be honest, because not the biggest selection here. And we'll just use the very standard kind of build. I still haven't figured out if the that these should be put in fairings or not. I think they are in reality, but I think it's still shaped aerodynamically enough that it won't matter. So do that. Oh yeah, it does need a couple of RCS thrusters. Oh, there's a specific thruster that has better. Okay, it's just one of these two. I wish these had better ISP, because then they would be more useful to me. Yeah, these are still the best ones. Space, that's what we're looking for. Wait, once we're bettered on an angle surface, I think we want this then. Oh, they're big. Oh, you know what though? We have the scaling thing. I can change the scale. Oh my god, that has me excited actually. Yes. Because they're like ridiculously big and doesn't make sense for them to be that big really. A little bit worried that it might be scaling the thrust and stuff too, so I'm going to make them a little bit bigger. Okay, going to stick a couple of flat panel solar panels on there. So this is like the mercury emissions. I'm going to need a See, in an ideal world, we can deorbit ourselves with these. This probably isn't going to be enough to get us into space. Well, this one has a lot more thrust than like this one did, so we can actually stick more fuel on without too much of an issue. Actually, we might be able to double the fuel. But then we're kind of looking at something that might be a little bit too long. This thing has a lot of reaction control, doesn't it? It's 5 compared to what we've been launching. 0.5, so yeah. I think we can handle a bigger fuel tank. Or a second long fuel tank. Got our long ass rocket, but I think it'll be fine. Again, get the winglets on. I'll eventually switch to canards once I feel that we've advanced enough. For some reason I'm not seeing the winglet. I know I'm staring right at it. Oh yeah, it's this, okay. It looks like it doesn't move, but it does, so. Okay. Holdy thingies. Okay, I think that pretty much covers it. This pod has enough food and stuff that I don't think I need to bring any extra with me. I do have the life support mod on. Staging, I think is right. Yep. Is there anything else we should check? Oh, the crewmen. I like to use people other than Jeb, Bill, and Bob. Start with Fiddlesy. Be the cursed Kerbal and or Lightfire Union in space. I think that's everything, so hope you all enjoyed this video and have a good day.